And welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Education today for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. This meeting is now called to order. I am going to ask Dr. Blau to please do a roll call for us, please.
Ms. Heinrich?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Weems?
Here.
And I myself am here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Mr. Walker has advised that he has, and Mrs. Fox have prior obligations. Dr. Turner is on his way, but we can go ahead and start our meeting because we do have a quorum. Out of respect of everybody's time, let's now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now move to items from the President. May I have approval of the agenda, please? Mrs. Heinrich?
I move to approve the agenda for the regular Board of Education meeting Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, as presented.
Support. Motion to approve the agenda made by Mrs. Heinrich, supported by Mrs. Smith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll now move to announcements. First, I want to mention that I had the opportunity to meet with some IB International Baccalaureate evaluators along with Ms. Heinrich yesterday, was it?
Yes.
I was really impressed by the conversation. So as most folks know, the IB program is a very rigorous program that we offer at our high school. At Farmington High School is where it sits. However, other students have the opportunity to participate in IB as well. IB really aligns with our profile of a lifelong learner. And so there was a lot of discussion about how we can expand that program, make sure that all students have access to it. You don't have to be in the diploma program to take IB courses. We've heard that many of our students who take the IB courses are very successful in it. In fact, 83% of those who take IB English get college credit, which is amazing, which is a much higher percentage than AP. We talked about the fact that there are more opportunities, we think, for our students to have more flexibility and choice and not have to be forced into a box and have to decide this program or this program, right? So we're finding currently that it's a struggle. I mean, I have high school students myself, and you have to almost sometimes choose between CTE or AP or regular courses or honors or IB, and we really want to look for ways for people to benefit from programs like IB without having to fit into a box and be excluded from other things. So we're exploring that. I'm really happy to see that the district is exploring that and that the IB group nationally is also focused, or internationally really, is focused on providing more opportunities for that as well. I was really happy that Mr. Tim Russell is also incorporating some SEL, which is social emotional learning, into the IB program. Again, it's very rigorous and sometimes kids can get stressed out by that, and so I was really happy to see a lot of the discussion around how to expand the program, make it more accessible, and build on it and improve upon it. I was also really happy to hear feedback from the evaluators that our students that they interacted with were well-spoken, were kind, were academically astute, and curious, and that's what we want for all of our students. Moving on, I had an opportunity to read a report from a research and policy group called CSW. It's a Corporation for a Skilled Workforce. They partner with a successful coaching organization that works with education and workforce development agencies. And I have really the privilege of having both of those worlds. I am a leader in the workforce development space, and I wear this K through 12 education hat as well. And they talked about really the crisis to resilience, addressing trauma and toxic stress in workforce development and education systems. Both of those systems are addressing a lot of needs, especially post-pandemic, and there was a real good look at stress building up to what's called toxic stress, the importance of recognizing the prevalence of trauma and its root causes and the downstream effects that it could have on those two kind of organizations. One approach is with respect to professional development, and I'm really happy to see and know that our school system is employing those supports, including peer support, belonging, collaboration, mutuality, empowerment, voice, and choice. Another approach is awareness. Our staff can often invest in acts of compassion, and we all need to understand that it is a strategic imperative to address burnout, compassion, fatigue, and just moral injury, which is this concept of wanting to do something well and good for a person, and that happens often in the workforce development space and in education. But there are often barriers to doing that, either financial barriers or systemic barriers or procedural barriers that prevent you from doing that, and that has the impact of a person feeling some sort of burnout and stress and betrayal feeling, and those things can cause stress as well. The long story short was I felt after reading that report that we're doing a lot of great work in that area, especially in the PD area. But what I would ask is that all of us, parents, community members, also become aware and simply just look to be kind. We should all be treating our teachers, our paras, our bus drivers, our noon aides, our janitors, our principals, and everyone who is connected to our school environment with compassion. And so we've got parent-teacher conferences coming up in October. I would just hope that everybody keeps that in mind. Next, joint cities. We've been in conversations with both mayors of Farmington and Farmington Hills and a few city council members as well to revive our joint cities meetings. Historically, those meetings have been coming together to sort of talk about what's going well in each of those areas, but we've got lots of opportunities to do that. We've got a senior breakfast where we do that. We meet up at the Caustic Center every year and do that. So what we were talking about is sort of restructuring those meetings to be more focused on solving problems. Historically, again, we've used that opportunity a little bit differently, but we're all interested in ways that we can sort of come together to address problems and come up with solutions. Some of them might be in the area of facilities, and if there's a need to expand beyond the facilities or footprint we have now, how can we partner with the cities to maybe do that? We've got some issues around school safety now. How can we partner with the cities and our police departments to address those kinds of issues? I think that there's an opportunity for us to work with the chamber, perhaps, to understand whether there are businesses who might be willing to partner with us to give some opportunities to our students. Those are the things that we're really, really eager to talk about. So things are kind of busy right now, and then we're going to probably move into holiday time. So we're looking at sometime in January to pick up those discussions. I'm going to be in contact with our board members to just get some thoughts around areas of collaboration. I've asked the cities to do the same, to come up with that list. We're not going to be, I'm sure we're going to come up with a laundry list of like great ideas, problems, and potential solutions. We're not going to cover them all, but we'll try to prioritize them. So I'll send that message out to my fellow board members to provide some feedback to me so that we can come up with our list. But I'd also ask our community to also think about opportunities for us to be better partners with the cities and within our community, and send those to me. You can email me at Terry, Terri.Weems, WEEMS, at fpsknet.org, right?
K-12.
No.
12.
Oh, that was the old one. Okay, sorry. Scratch that. Terri.Weems at fpsk12.net. That's it. Okay, one more time. Terri, Terri.Weems at fpsk12.net. Okay, or you can do Board of Ed at fpsk12.net. Now, if you send messages to the Board of Ed email, I just want everybody to know, when you do that, we don't get them right away. They go to a central mailbox, and then they get emailed to the board president only. And then I will respond to you, but I will copy my board colleagues so that they get that message as well. But just so you know, that email does not get monitored by everyone. It only comes to the district and then gets forwarded to me. But if you send a message to either one of those, I will respond to you within 24 to 48 hours of me getting it. All right, next, I wanted to thank Dr. Blau for organizing our first community dialogue, which is scheduled for October 1st. It's going to be on noticing and belonging. I want to thank Dr. Turner for meeting with the FAPN group, who asked to meet with him to kind of understand his role and how he plans to be a good steward of the district for the next few months. And I want to say happy birthday to Miss Angie Smith. Thank you for spending your birthday with us.
It's a national holiday.
It's a national, okay.
When you get my age, it's
Okay.
national.
All right,
Thank
two more things. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to...
Terry, you have to say happy birthday.
Me, no, I won't. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that everybody knows, obviously we're coming up on election, there are a lot of things on the ballot this year. Most people, are interested in the, big sexy stuff, the president and governor and stuff like that, but there's also a lot of stuff down ticket. Please be aware, in addition to the people that you need to vote on, there are issues that you need to vote on as well. There is a city charter amendment related to the terms of office for the city council members and mayor for Farmington Hills. There's an Oakland County Parks and Recreation millage. There's a charter amendment for the roads, public roads and street millage. There is a library millage renewal, and there is a school millage as well. Voters will be asked to renew the current operating millage for Farmington Public Schools. So I'm not telling you how to vote, I'm just asking you to vote and to also do your research to understand what those issues are so you don't get to the ballot box and say, oh, what is this? So do your research. There are school board member forums being planned. There is one today at 7 o'clock. There is another one coming out from the PTA, which is scheduled for October 7th, and there's likely going to be another one coming out from the Women League of Voters. They usually do one every year. I don't know the date of that, but if you're interested in understanding what's going on from a school board member perspective, there are opportunities for you to find out from that. All right, at this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Paddock up to make some announcements.
Good evening, and thank you, President Weems, for inviting me to speak briefly. When the agenda was being planned and constructed for tonight's meeting, I originally informed you that I would need to read a statement as a result of a Michigan Employment Relations Commission decision involving an unfair labor practice charge against Farmington Public Schools dating back to August of 2022. Instead, my update for you this evening is to share that I have notified the MEA Executive Director for Region 7G and E, Ms. Lori Tunick, that the district has filed a motion to stay the decision of the MERC pending an appeal and a motion for immediate consideration with the Michigan Court of Appeals. So as a result, I will not be reading the notice to employees this evening as originally planned. On a professional level, I understand that this decision may be a point of contention with our unions and may cause some frustration on their behalf, and for that, I am sorry. I am proud of the ongoing and positive relationships that management has with all of our MEA presidents in this district and leaders throughout FPS, and I will continue to work hard and build on those relationships in this fantastic year ahead. Should you or the remainder of the board, although you're limited here tonight, should you or the remainder of the board have any questions after the conclusion of tonight's meeting, please send those to our proud interim superintendent, Dr. Coffin, and she can direct my involvement should you have any questions. I look forward to your next agenda item on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paddock. I will now just move into an update on the superintendent search. So that everyone is aware, I think I mentioned at our last meeting that there is an open sort of, not a survey, but a way to deliver feedback on the district's website right now. So anyone who wanted to provide feedback could go in there and provide just, worded feedback anytime you like. There will also be a survey that's going to be distributed district-wide to anyone who has signed up for a listserv. That is anticipated to come out at the end of this month, at the latest, very early October. It's about 10 to 15 questions, so not a whole lot of opportunity to write in something, but this is a way for us to collect feedback in a really good way that we can aggregate a lot of the comments and the feedback. That will come out again at the end of the week. For anyone who is not on a listserv, it will also be on the website, so you can go in and fill out that survey. That's available to anyone. We will also have some in-person sessions where you can interact with someone and deliver feedback. These will be facilitated by a third party so that the board can receive the feedback in a sort of objective way, and all of the board members will receive a summary of that feedback. The dates for the feedback are as follows. For staff members, so for folks internal to the district, there will be 2 sessions on the same day, Monday, October 21st, and this will go out after this meeting. We'll send out an email to everybody, so you don't have to write this down unless you want to. It'll also be on the district's website. Again, staff input sessions are Monday, October 21st, one session from 3 to 4 o'clock, and one session from 4 to 5 o'clock. We're hopeful that folks can make that time. It's after school, directly after school for most people, and it sort of aligns with both the secondary and elementary school schedules. The next 2 sessions are for the broader community. And the first one is going to be an evening session on Monday, October 21st. The second one is going to be a morning session on Tuesday, October 29th. So there's a morning and evening session for community members. And if you can't make any of those in-person sessions, don't worry. We're going to make a virtual option available on November 4th at 7 p.m. So there are in-person sessions, there's a virtual session, there's a survey, and then there's also an opportunity to just provide direct feedback on the website. So hopefully that helps everybody understand the ways that we want to collect feedback over the course of the next few weeks. And then after we get all of that feedback, the Superintendent Succession Planning Committee is going to meet and determine next steps. So that's where we are. All right, that ends my report. We're now going to move to items from the Secretary, and I have asked that...
Public comment.
Pardon?
It's public comment.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. We have 2 public comments now. We have 2 public comments for the purpose of, and you can come on up, for the purpose of allowing people multiple opportunities to, not multiple opportunities to speak, but multiple times, because we recognize that some people like to get here early and leave, and some people are still at work and want to come a little bit later. So you can only make public comment 1 time. Thank you. Either now or later on in the program, right after reports from board committees. Thank you so much. All right, so the first person that I have is Mr. Bill Lovaway. Remember, you have 3 minutes, and we ask that you refrain from naming any individuals to protect the privacy of staff and students, and please direct your comments to the board. Thank you, Mr. Lovaway.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I was pleasantly surprised to see that the slides for today's presentation on the state assessment of our 2024 results were included, so I had a chance to look at those. Naturally, I have comments on that, but that was a good first step. And then after looking at the literacy improvements on page 3 in grades 3, 7, and 11, those were good results, improvements. However, when I looked to see what that accomplished, page 5 touts 7th grade literacy of 48% proficiency. In 11th grade, 63%. I didn't see where the 3rd grade ended up. In addition, there were a couple of charts at the end. One was a chart that showed math demonstrating that, once again, that Farmington Public Schools can't teach poor kids either in math, in addition to literacy. And then both pages 7 and 8 introduce excuses for not teaching our kids, and that's not all the kids. There are a couple of groups that lag seriously, and our overall results are not good at all. But these excuses are kids are poor, and apparently they can't learn math because of that, and because of the fact, and this is a new one that we haven't seen before here, they don't show up for classes. We ought to be able to do something about both. We can't do anything about poor. We can do something about changing the way we teach so that we can overcome those obstacles that they face that are unique. And it would be nice to be a leader in that, given that we're in a state which is ranking in the bottom 10 of the U.S. states. And then page 7 says, this continues to create urgency in how to shift the culture, practice, and structure of the system to ensure all students have an opportunity to learn. No specifics again. So I'm looking forward to board SMART goals that are measurable to ensure accountability. And I hope these goals also express urgency to improve our schools.
Thank you. We will now hear from Henry Francis and then from Melissa Francis.
Good evening, board members. Again, apologies for the informal clothing. Cross-country meet again this time. I'm here again on the behalf of the robotics team for advocating for a district STEM facility. Obviously, I know there are discussions being held on potentially having a space in the coming months or years, but I just really wanted to come in and push for it. We recently had our very first meeting, and we're up to over 50 students. I believe it's 55 or so, and we know that there are a lot of people who haven't even had the chance to come to our first meeting because of things like sports. So we know that we're gonna have a really packed house this year, yet again. And as we continue to expand, it's just becoming more and more important to us that we are able to provide every single person a good experience on the team, and part of that is opening up space. And one of the big things in my mind is that STEM is for everyone, which is why we have such a large team. But part of the problem that we're seeing, especially now with our first few meetings, is that we're unable to accept a lot of our middle school members. Power Middle School had to turn away 40 students because we're limited to 15 students per middle school team. And we would love to have more, but we're constrained by space, resources, and coaches, all of which we're lacking right now and would really like to expand upon, but it's just becoming really, really difficult for us. So things like that are really hindering our ability to expand and provide everyone in the district an equitable experience. And especially with STEM being at the forefront of so many different career opportunities, it's becoming almost a necessity that every single student has at least some background in STEM education, which is why, again, I'm here every single meeting that I can be pushing for this, because it really, really is that important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Francis, followed by Heidi Trembling.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Coffin. I really didn't want to follow that guy, but I'm here to lend my voice for the same advocacy that Henry's reaching for a STEM center, not just for the Hackbots, but like you said, for all the kids in our district. My family has been involved with Hackbots for the last 10 years, and during that time, we've seen very little improvement to our space. It's usually through something bond work that happens to go on at the high school. And we've seen absolutely no expansion of the space. Yet the team continues to grow. STEM continues to grow. 7 years ago, Farmington STEAM Academy opened, and I got excited thinking, great, we've got to dump these kids out of 8th grade into something for high school. Surely something's on the way. So nothing ever came about. And I know to some of you it's a new problem. To us, it's at least 10 years old and predates me, I'm sure, my family. But again, we want to push for that. We'd really encourage you to come to our space to see what we're talking about. I don't think you can understand the synergy. Henry talked about having the new kids in last night. We've got the one team from Power. We've got a team from STEAM, the middle school teams. We had 4 little adorable teams from Longacre last night. We love being together, maybe not so tightly together. If you go to the team's Facebook page, you can see some of the pictures, and it's kids on floor, wherever we have a space. But because resources are limited, coaching is limited, it's great for us to be in one space because we have a lot of great parents who are with Hackbots who had little kids at the Longacres, this beach view, you know, everybody who has teams, we've got parents who have done that before. You know, we've got students who are recently on FTC, the middle school teams, and they help out as well. So we'd love to have you come out. I don't think we can fully realize the problem that we need to solve unless you see firsthand what the problem is. So I know Dr. Blau's been to our space several times. We appreciate that. And come out to competitions to see how it goes. Dr. Delgado was a great supporter, and we thought we made headway. And now, you know, 10 years, 4 superintendents later, we thought we were getting a little footing, and it feels like we're starting over again. So, like I said, it may feel like a new problem to all of you because we've only been here for the past year, but it's 10 years for my family, longer for others. We've got, I want to say kids, we've got mentors on the team now that were kids on the team, the very first team 15 years ago, and that is, by the way, the average lifespan of a robotics team. So we're there, and we're doing our best to hang on and stay competitive, but the space and the facility is a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. I have, did I call Heidi? Heidi Trimley, followed by Chris Dianchi. That is, so right now, the last public comment I have, so if anyone else is interested in public comment, please fill out a card and set it in the bowl next to Mrs. Mayberry.
Good evening, Board. First of all, I want to thank you. My son was an IB diploma kid. He graduated this last year, so thank you for doing the SEL, because I think that's really important. Thank you for looking at that. But he was also on the Hackbots, and we've been with robotics for 8 years, and I'm also here to speak. I'm a mentor on the team and have stayed with the team even though he has left. I'm staying with the team, but we really do need a facility. I had a kid ask me last night who has been on the team when we had the new ones there, Ms. Tremblay, are we going to have enough room for all these design kids that are interested? We didn't have enough seats for them last night. And that's, you know, we're like so congested. So like Melissa Francis said and Henry, we would encourage all of you, and thank you for coming, Cheryl, appreciate you guys. Come out, come see us, and thank you for talking to me earlier, Ms. Kaufman. We would just greatly appreciate if you guys come check us out, see how congested we are, because, I mean, we've made it to Worlds how many times, Henry? 3 of the last 3 years? I mean, we support, you know, we're great aspect to Farmington, and, you know, they see us, World sees us, and that's a bunch of different countries. So, I mean, we just need the space to be able to be even greater and welcome more people into our group. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Chris Dianchi, followed by Lori Tunick.
Good evening. I'd like to use my time tonight to acknowledge a group of employees who went above and beyond in order to welcome students into their building this year. Many of our teachers begin setting up their classroom weeks in advance. We have a certain amount of time in the contract for setup, but most teachers choose to do more because that's who they are. That's why the teaching staff at Wood Creek was devastated when they heard about the fire in their building. They were heartbroken to learn they wouldn't have access to their rooms until 1 p.m. on the Monday before students were set to arrive. I visited the building and thought there was no way they would be ready for school. And if that wasn't enough, when the teachers did get their classroom access, they didn't have power. Not only could they not print class lists and materials, they had no internet access. And as you know, if you've been to Wood Creek, most of those rooms don't have windows, so they were operating by lamplight. At the last board meeting, you heard about the Herculean construction efforts to get the building open. I too was personally impressed by this work. But what makes the house a home is the people inside, and what made that building a school again were the teachers and the staff, giving every waking moment they could in a 7-day span to make Wood Creek ready for students on the first day of school. A special thank you to the principals and the staff from Kenbrook and Beachview who went over on their time that they could have been spending up their classrooms, and they went over to Wood Creek to help their colleagues because they knew they were behind. Thank you to Lori Tunick and the MEA staff that came to help on Friday. That Friday was supposed to be a non-report day for teachers, but they were everywhere, working, getting ready for students. Each one of them deserves to be mentioned by name tonight, but I only have 3 minutes, so I hope you understand if I take a moment to acknowledge just one. Her name is Isabel Gerhardt, and she is a brand new teacher. She is a product of Farmington. And on Monday, when teachers first got into their classrooms, she couldn't get into hers. They had used her room for storage over the summer, and items were damaged. And until they were cataloged or moved, she couldn't do anything. So instead of pouting or sitting around, she went across the hall and decorated someone else's room. Because that's what they do there. That's what those staff members do to take care of each other. They have spent the last month lifting each other up, doing the best for their students. They are still not where they need to be. We still have teachers on carts and still have teachers displaced from their rooms, but they are doing their best to make it work. Hopefully all of this will wrap up soon, but I wanted to take my 3 minutes and acknowledge and celebrate tonight all the staff and teachers at Wood Creek for the amazing work they did to be ready for school this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Lori Tunick. And that is the last public comment card I have, but that is not the last opportunity.
Good evening. I just ran from one meeting to this one, so I apologize. 2 years ago, the current board president of this board made a threat to the local MEA associations, and when they did, they broke the law. Instead of owning what was done and apologizing, the board member in question, the former board president, and the former superintendent decided to ignore the behavior and remain silent when the accusations were made. Your silence left my office no choice but to file an unfair labor practice for this illegal behavior. Twice now, the courts have decided that the law was broken and there was a penalty for the board's behavior. This penalty was stating publicly at this very board meeting the law was violated, informing the employees the law was violated, and posting on the doors of the district the law was violated. Neither the names associated with what was done, nor an explanation of who did what, just a notice of, we made a mistake and we won't do it again. This board has chosen to waste taxpayer money, not once, but now twice, by appealing the court's decision. Twice now you have chosen to spend money on someone's pride and not on staff and students. Twice now you have chosen to spend money on someone's pride by paying an attorney to defend and yet fail. Twice now you have chosen to spend money on someone's pride instead of simply acknowledging and apologizing. You are elected officials who should be examples for the students and the community of Farmington Public Schools. What kind of educator would I be if I wasn't trying to help you learn and grow? Farmington prides itself in their growth model evaluations for teachers and support staffs. For 2 years, I have let the courts do their job. I have elected to keep this issue out of the public eye. You once again have forced my hand. Did you think I would be quiet forever? Your latest and newest appeal is nothing but another form of disrespect to the Farmington local associations and to every other union around. It is time for the public to know the board and the district are choosing pride instead of learning and growing. Drop your appeal, say your penance, learn and grow.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment going once, Going twice. Okay, that ends our first public comment, but there is an opportunity, if you have not already spoken, to provide public comment again. At this time, I would not like to acknowledge, thank you, something that was just discussed. The board is aware that there was a filing of an unfair labor practice charge in 2022. And since then, the district has been cooperating with the direction and advice from the previous superintendent, Dr. Delgado, and counsel representing the district. It is a well-known practice that we do not comment on pending litigation. At no time was there any opportunity prior to a filing for a conversation. So I'm not sure where there was an opportunity to have a discussion before that happened, because once something like that happens, the district protocol is not to have a conversation, but to have that go through its process. I do want to acknowledge that that I am the person. I don't want anybody else to take responsibility for that. I am not the former board president, Dr. Blau, but the former president, Mrs. Weems, Terry Weems. I made some comments. Those comments were taken out of context. I stand committed to continuing to support our employee groups and the collective bargaining process and positive relationships between the district administration and our unions, as I have for almost 10 years. I am all in and will continue to support the collaboration that will continue through this school year and beyond. This is not about pride. The purpose of the district's appeal, based on the attorney's advice, is to clarify important points of law that may have implications not just for Farmington Public Schools, but for other public employers throughout the state going forward. And that is all that I will say at this time because of our protocol around pending litigation. Thank you very much. We'll now move to items from the secretary. Dr. Blau, would you mind? Oh, thank you.
The board acknowledges communications and responds when appropriate. A list of correspondence can be found in the board packet accessible on the Farmington Public Schools website.
Thank you very much. Are there any legislative updates?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. We will now then move to district updates and the highly anticipated conversation around our data.
Thank you, President Weems. Our central office staff are now fully transitioned into our new location on Freedom Road. Formerly known as Cloverdale and most recently Visions Unlimited, this building now serves as our new FPS administration building. We are excited to all be together, to all be on one floor, and have space and room to hold meetings and professional development for staff across the district. I just had one more thing I want to talk about tonight, and it's our strategic plan. Following this update, I will be sharing information on our strategic plan dashboard that we will be rolling out at this point. It relates to monitoring the outcomes across our district. But first, I wanted to share a little bit about our strategic planning process. Our strategic planning committees will be holding their first meetings of the school year beginning in October. We are continuing the school year with working in our 4 goal areas, which include innovation for teaching and learning, health and wellness through social and emotional learning, a culture of equity and innovation, and collaborative professional learning that supports equity and innovation. These goal areas, as you might remember, were developed from community feedback during the 2022-23 school year. We currently are in the second year of this strategic planning cycle, and our efforts center on feedback and input from the community. The committee meetings are held virtually in the late afternoon, early evening, and are 1 hour in length. And if you are interested at all in serving on one of these committees, please visit our website and click on the 2024-25 Strategic Planning Committee interest form that can be found on our strategic planning page. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Oh, I must have skipped. So that was the superintendent's district update. Thank you for that. We will now move to the strategic plan dashboard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Over there.
Double duty?
It's all good. It's all good. All right.
Well, good evening, Dr. Coffin.
Hello, everyone. Here we go. All right, so I'm excited to provide a strategic planning update to the Board of Education this evening, and really for the purpose tonight of unveiling our dashboard that we will be using as part of our strategic planning monitoring process. So the board has information on and has the full strategic planning dashboard in your packet. This is also something that we reviewed at length in our last board retreat. This document also is available right now to the community on our strategic planning website. You'll see the link there. So when we think about, we're really excited about this because it's really important to understand that as we do our strategic planning efforts and as we reach out to our community and get feedback, it's informing our work in the system. So our dashboard is structured around these areas. What is the area that we're working on? What is our 5-year goal? What is our baseline? And then our monitoring over time will be visible. And you can see there's also going to be a status chart so that we can at a glance see if we are progressing at the rate we want to, or if we're not progressing and we need to make some changes to our system. So just a few things that I wanted to share around some of our noticings when we dig into our dashboard. So again, it's focused on our full 4 goal areas. And what you will notice in the dashboard is that we have multiple indicators for each goal, and this includes perception data, performance data, and other types of data. Sources of the data come from a variety of places. Later on, we're going to talk about some of our state assessment scores. That's just one piece of the data that is part of this monitoring. Our targets are based on where we are now and where we want to be 5 years or sooner. So we're not waiting 5 years. This is just what we see right now from where we're at to where we want to be. The baseline data that you'll see in the dashboard is either from last school year or it could be the year prior, depending on when the most current data was available. And the data will be updated as new data is available, so we won't wait until at the end of the year, for example, if we get data sooner. So as we talk about strategic planning, I think we talked about this, at the end of last year. When you think about a plan, sometimes that feels like a to-do list. But when we're talking about our strategies, we're focusing on outcomes that we wish to achieve. And we believe that connecting these indicators to our strategic planning areas does just that and makes it very visible to our community. The important piece of when we talk about strategic planning or strategic theory is that it must be coherent, it must be doable, and must be translated into action. So I want to briefly walk through, these are just some subset of the indicators. Again, you can find the entire document on our strategic planning page. But as an example, for innovation and for teaching and learning, you can see some sample indicators there. So what we will see if we know that we are making progress is that student performance trends upwards, that we have greater access to rigorous and innovative learning experiences, and that students themselves are making meaningful connections to their own learning. The next one is health and wellness through social emotional learning. What we expect to see is that staff perception of their Farmington experience reflects our enduring instructional focuses, including belongingness, safety, and meaningful interactions. We also will see evidence of positive attendance trends and students having success and access to SEL supports both when they are with us at school and when they're at home or in the community. The last 2 goal areas, the third one is culture for equity and innovation. You can see again a set of subsets. You'll see the different types of data sets that we are monitoring. including the perception as well as some of our state and local assessment data. As we make progress in this goal area, we will see student performance again trend upwards as a result of our equitable instructional practices and our innovative shifts in structures and system. We also expect to see staff connecting to the district's mission and vision and our teaching and learning anchors. Finally, our last goal area of collaborative professional learning that supports equity and innovation will see positive shifts in staff perception again and access to meaningful professional learning where their voice is reflected in the learning experience, and that the impact of innovative structures creates a space for teacher and staff collaboration. So again, that was a quick overview of the dashboard. We've talked about it as a board. You have that information. We also reviewed it at the retreat, and it is now live for our community to see. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Coffin. Any questions for board members? I will just say that, again, you mentioned that we reviewed this at our retreat. I think we were all pleased with and had a huge desire for something like this that helps everyone understand where we are. These are the important key performance indicators for our school district. We have a really good measure of both leading indicators and lagging indicators. And I'm also really appreciative of the fact that we've got both objective data here and perception data as well in terms of surveys. I think this is a great start. I really, really look forward to moving the needle. I love the fact that we've got some stretch goals here. This is not to say that we expect that it's going to take 5 years to get there, as you mentioned. But I'm really, really pleased with this. I hope our community is as well, and I really look forward to sharing data along the way and remaining transparent here. Thank you for this. Oh, Mrs. Smith.
Dr. Coffin, again, thank you. Being on this board almost 9 years, I've never seen a strategic plan put in place. And for a 5-year strategic plan. What I am impressed about is that you have decided to not only take this role, but to wear that other hat as well, and you're doing both. I am impressed. I hear people always say, well, what was she doing? Well, you were not the superintendent. You were just the assistant. So what we're seeing now is the work that you were trying to do and what you are doing to move this district ahead and forward. And you have moved the needle, but Rome wasn't built in a day. Even our creator had 7 days, so we're going to give you some time.
Okay.
So, but I'm very excited about what you have in place and what you're doing to show that we are going in the right direction. And then getting our test scores and everything together, because this works hand in hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further comments, we'll move now to the state assessment update.
All right. And I'll ask Ms. Hendrickson to join me up here.
Good evening, Board of Education. So someone's moving things around. I was going to move it around, but it was there. Hold on. So strategic planning really gives us an opportunity to look at culture, practice, and structures of the system and how we're moving the whole system. It's also important for us to look at specific needs in the organization, in the teaching and learning experience, and develop a district improvement plan that has goals and strategies and activities that go with that goal. So Farmington Public Schools does have a district improvement plan. We call it the MyKIP plan because the state describes our continuous improvement process as Michigan Continuous Improvement Process. And so we've coined the phrase MICIP instead of District Improvement Plan. What I want to talk about today is early indicators of movement that we're seeing in our student performance that we believe is directly tied to the work we've been doing as part of our District Improvement Plan and the larger strategic planning work. We are proud to say that we continue to be at or above the state at majority of grade levels and above the state in all literacy and math. We've continued, this is a historical trend for us to be sitting at or above the county and the state. We do recognize also that there are some meaningful gains at very specific grade levels and student groups that you're about to see that we will share. We are aware that the data does still continue to show us that there are still needs in our work, and so we're going to continue to move forward in our district improvement plan to have greater and greater impact on our students. As the Board of Education knows, we've been doing a significant amount of work in literacy K-12, with now being the first year of a brand new comprehensive K-5 literacy program between Wit and Wisdom and EL Skills Block, in addition to some specific intervention work we're doing in literacy at the elementary level. We've also been working strongly at the middle school to integrate literacy across all subjects and been working on some supplemental ELA language and writing resources at that level. We also brought to the board brand new ELA courses that we're restructuring, redesigning to bring about best practice for our high school learners as well as co-teaching models, and we're going to be extending some of the supplemental language and writing resources from the middle school to the high school. This isn't the only work we've done, but these are some captured experiences that we really think have made an impact on our literacy improvement at grades 3, 7, and 11. We are proud to say that we increased at a greater amount in literacy at third grade than most of the county. We were one of 8 Oakland County districts that showed an increase of 5%. We were within the top 3 districts that actually improved in third grade. So we feel that is highly connected to a lot of the work we've done over the last few years. We know there's also been significant work in mathematics, K-12, professional development, specific focus on routines around certain math concepts, some intervention supports in place, and again, some strong shift in the resources and model of our special education. And from that, particularly at grades 3 through 5, where we had intense work last year, we saw increases in mathematics. We are also proud to say that that increase was greater at grades 3 and 5 than the increases that the county saw. So we believe that, again, ties back to the intensive work and intentional work that we've been doing over the last few years. It's important that we look at how all of our students grow, but we want to make sure that we brought to the board some specific examples at certain grade levels where we're not just seeing shifts with all students, but we're seeing specific shift in student groups that are actually having greater gains over last year than the all student numbers. So you'll notice our students with IEPs, our Black and African American students, our students that are economically disadvantaged are having greater gains as compared to looking at all students. So that shows an indication of some very targeted work that we're doing for our students. I am proud to say that both North and Farmington High are trending upwards over the last 2 or 3 years in 11th grade literacy. And our 2 high schools were one of the 22 high schools out of 57 that actually showed an increase in performance on the SAT in the area of literacy. There's still work to do, but we are showing, we're having some greater impacts over the last few years with certain grade levels and groups compared to our state and county peers. In mathematics, also we're noticing some specific grade levels and student groups in the area of mathematics showing greater gains. Again, some of those same subgroups that I talked about in the last slide. We were proud at 5th grade being greater performance, a greater increase than we had at the county level. But we also noticed that our 7th grade was very similar in our increase at the county level. So again, we're staying with or be above the county in much of our performance. While we still know that we are very proud of the work that we're doing and the impact we're having, we do recognize that there are historical trends that continue to impact student performance. These are impacts that our county peers, our state peers, and national peers have around how chronic absenteeism and a student's economic status might impact their performance. All the work in our strategic planning and our district improvement is intended to undo the predictability of that impact. So the intention of this slide that was in the slide following is to really show the county kind of helping tell the story of the connection between those demographics and student performance. But our intention is to outdo that and reduce the predictability of that. We recognize there's an urgency, and we continue to work hard to not only change from a district improvement level, very tactical work, but really think about how are we restructuring our whole system through our strategic planning work. And it'll be both of those dovetailed together that's going to make sure that this predictable graph, as well as the next one around chronic absenteeism, no longer occurs in Farmington Public Schools. So thank you very much. I know the board has a larger data packet that you saw either at the retreat and before the presentation, and you also have a copy of our MyKIP or district improvement goals, as well as a document kind of summarizing all the actions that are noted in our MyKIP school improvement plan. So you have access to that.
Any questions or comments from board members? Now, we had a lot of robust discussion at our retreat, so I don't want folks to think that we didn't have any questions or comments. Dr. Blau?
I wanted to acknowledge that these last two slides are not meant to be an excuse for why certain populations in our district are still struggling, and that we remain very committed, as we have been for many years now. We continue to remain very committed to not allowing these particular aspects of a student's living situation to so significantly impact their ability to make progress. So I know we heard during public comment an opinion that these were meant as an excuse, and that's not at all what you are presenting here. You are calling attention to these trends that exist and what we as a district are doing to counter these trends and rise above them to better meet the needs of every student so that every student experiences maximum success, even though they might have other elements in their life experience that might make that more challenging. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I also just wanted to mention that I recognize that we're presenting today on a smaller subset of the data and that we get to see a lot more of it. Some of it is trending in the right direction. Frankly, some of it is not. But I was really happy to see that you guys are noticing, recognizing those areas, and developing a plan. Can you share a little bit? I think I understand why we show, for instance, grade 3, critically important, right? That is where we have to make decisions about whether students move on or not. Appreciate that we don't have any assessments at the high school level other than 11th grade. It makes sense to me that we would be looking at 3, 5, 7, and 11. Any other data sets that we should be looking at going forward? Because I know on our dashboard, we're going to be aggregating all of those up for purposes of, understanding whether we're moving the needle. Are there any particular grades that you would raise as an area of concern or areas that we need to be taking a harder look at?
I think there were two pieces to that. What are some of the other data sets? So what's really nice around our K-5 literacy data set is not only do we have things like the state assessment and NWA, but we have our EL skills block and Acadience assessment that really helps us tell the story of student group growth, grade level growth on a more of the leading indicator kind of piece that you were talking about. We continue to know that grade 5 in the area of mathematics, while we've seen gains, still is an area that we need to have some intensive support in, as well as 4th grade. And so, and then when we think about, I'm taking a really strong look at where we're seeing performance at the 6th grade level to set up for 7th and 8th. So that 4th and 5th and that 6th grade are really important years for us to be focusing work to reduce the learning gaps that result from opportunity gaps. We do have some things that we're working on in our district improvement plan to think about other data points. So at 6th and 9th grade this year, we'll be administering something called the Delta assessment. It's a free assessment to really look at number sense and mathematical understanding. And we're going to give that 3 times a year to start to give us more closer to the classroom level work data to see what's happening. So in addition to this, which is really up here data, we're trying to find a variety of data set that we've not had always had access to before, so we can take a closer look.
Thank you for that. Seeing no further questions or comments, we're going to move on to our next, thank you so much. We're going to move on to discussion items. Seeing as we have no discussion items, we're going to move on to reports from board committees. I'll let the record reflect that Mrs. Heinrich had to leave for another commitment, and so she asked Mrs. Smith to provide the Facilities and Finance Committee report.
Thank you, President Weems. So our meeting took place on September 10th. We called the meeting to order at 2:30 p.m. In present was the chair, Ms. Heinrich, President Weems, and myself, and that is who your committee chairs are, where your chairs are on that committee. Also present was Dr. Kelly Coffin, Mr. Barth, and Ms. Pinchek. We also, our discussion items, we discussed the 2015 bond refunding. And for our 2015 bond, we have about 47 mil outstanding, which is based on market conditions. We believe we can refinance these bonds and save over 4.2 mil. This will be a savings for our taxpayers over time. And the committee questions were answered regarding this. This item will be discussed at the October 8th regular meeting. And then we discussed the vehicle replacement plan. Mr. Barth reported that facilities management is requesting a replacement schedule for district maintenance vehicles that have become unsafe to operate due to rust and normal wear and tear on these vehicles. So Mr. Barth would like to purchase 2 trucks, a box truck and utility truck this school year, and 2 additional utility trucks next school year. So the committee members' questions were answered also as well on that. Future agenda items are long-term funding, budgeting for school safety, or safety issues that we need to take care of throughout the district. And the next meeting is scheduled for October 15th at 2:30, and that meeting was adjourned at 3:02.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Smith. Next is the Policy Committee, and Mr. Walker is not here, so I will give that report. The committee met on September 5th. Present were Donald Walker, myself, and Mrs. Fox. We took the opportunity to review some of the Miller-Johnson recommended updates to our policies. The Policy Committee decided to add 2 meetings to the calendar. Both of them are on Thursdays. One is in October on the 17th, and another is on February 13th. Discussions about policies going forward included discussions around racist language and slurs, testing, student code of conduct, early graduation policies, standards-based grading, sports counting towards the physical education requirement, board protocols, cell phones. We discussed a few issues that have been raised from individual parents, separate issues, and whether there were any policy requirements or discussions needed around those. We started having conversations around counseling, both in the traditional sense and counseling from a career transitional sense. We talked about opportunities to get our parents more involved in their children's education, creating a space for them to actively participate in their education from the 9th through the 12th grade. We feel like there are more opportunities in the elementary and middle school levels. And then finally, we talked through how we were going to develop a cadence of policies. There is a laundry list of policies that the policy committee is handling right now, and we want to figure out how we can prioritize what we can tackle for this year and for future meetings. Of course, the Miller-Johnson updates are always going to be the priority. Anytime our attorney provides us recommendations for updates to the policy, either because a law changed or because something's happened in another district and they think it's important for us to consider, we will definitely be elevating those to the top of the list, which impacts our ability to get through the rest of that stuff. But that's why the chair has decided to ask the committee to commit to additional meetings, which we've all committed to. We are committed to meeting as frequently as possible to try to get through as much as we can. That ends the policy committee's report. And now we will move to our second public comment. Again, this is an opportunity for those who wish to make public comment that did not get an opportunity the first time. Same rules apply. 3 minutes. We ask that you refrain from naming any individuals to protect their privacy for staff and students. And please direct your comments to the board. You can come on up, Mr. Greenstein. This is only one public comment card that I have, and so after this, we will be closing public comment. Thank you, Mr. Greenstein. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I was pleased to see the improvements in the academics, but we have a long way to go. And my concern in terms of what was presented was we don't have any comparators, for example, back to what's been discussed in the past. Why is Wood Creek on the bottom? I assume it still is, versus Forest or various other schools. And if we're not comparing and finding out what the differences are, I think we're missing an opportunity to make the best and make the worst a lot better. The other thing I didn't see was benchmarking other systems to find out what works there. It's dangerous to assume we know. We don't know till we go out and talk to other people, find out what is done well, what hasn't done well, drawing conclusions about, let's say Detroit is bad, for example, or Pontiac is bad, but maybe there are nuggets of success that we could benefit from. And unless we have those kinds of conversations, we're not going to make the improvements that we're entitled to make. And so I think as part of the dashboard, we need to have items in terms of going out and visiting other systems, other consultants, or wherever they are, right? Not assuming anything, just asking questions about what's worked and what hasn't. So that's what I think is very important and missing. I'm a broken record, I know that. And with that, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Angie. Happy birthday to you. And you can see that I failed a cappella.
Thank you.
That was better than I could have done, Mr. Eugene. Thank you for that. Public comment going once, public comment going twice. That ends our second public comment. I'm glad you mentioned benchmarking. We did a lot of that. So, and I know we don't, go back and forth, but we do have data on the agenda for today. So I want you to know that we very much do look at school by school. That just wasn't something that we presented on today. And I'm very happy to report that Dr. Coffin is most definitely looking at other school systems. I do that as well. Given my work role, I just have an opportunity to do that across the state. Many of us also do that as we're meeting with other school boards across the state as part of our continuing professional education. And you may have heard us talk about the different levels of MASB certification. That's when we are going to meet, and meeting in Traverse City or Lansing or Ann Arbor or wherever, to meet with hundreds of different school districts across the state. And Dr. Coffin recently traveled abroad. She just came back last week, actually, to visit a school system, a very high-performing school system, and understood what they were doing over there. I've had the opportunity to do that in England as well. So your point is well taken, is the point.
It's important to bring that out in these meetings, what's being done.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we do not have a quorum. So I wanted to note that we lost a quorum right before our discussion items. So we will not be acting on items from the treasurer. We will move that to a future agenda item. We will not be moving on the consent agenda. We will move that to a future agenda item. We will now move to reports from board representatives. Are there any reports?
I can give a brief report on the OCSBA dinner meeting last week. Brad Banasek gave an update on how to fill vacancies on boards and went through a lot of detail on how to go about doing that, and we are in full compliance, which is great to know, and that was the content of that meeting. And as you mentioned, it was great to have an opportunity to dialogue with members of other boards throughout the county and compare notes and learn what's working and share what's working for us.
Thank you for that report. I'm just writing a note for myself, sorry. Something you said triggered something I want to do. All right, I'm going to provide a report for the PTA representative. I was able to attend that meeting. Mrs. Heinrich is the representative. She is not here, but I happened to be at that meeting as well because I wanted to make sure that the PTA was aware of our upcoming opportunities to provide feedback on the superintendent profile and process. The PTA met at 6 o'clock yesterday. They talked a lot about their desire to build relationships with building leaders and with staff across the district. Ms. Kaminsky presented on what is on the ballot for the Farmington Public Schools, the renewal of the millage. There was also a discussion about the upcoming Farmington Hills Education Foundation. What's that annual event? Toast. Yeah, I don't know why I don't remember that. Toast to Education.
You win all the awards.
Yes.
And the gifts.
It is on that. I should have
yes.
on that. I'm sorry.
It is scheduled for November 15th. For anyone who loves that event as much as I do, please mark your calendars for November 15th. That event is a little bit later than it usually is. They've got some rationale and some reasoning for that, but they're hoping to still have a really good turnout. There's a really good turnout every year. It's for a great cause. It's a great time. They wanted to also make sure that people are aware, if you're not aware, they've given over $200,000 over the past several years to programs, to teachers, to staff, to whomever is connected to the schools. And they wanted to make sure that people understood that it's not limited to staff. PTAs can submit for this funding. And let me step back. The Farmington Hills Education Foundation hosts this key signature event every year, this Toast to Education, to raise money for the foundation. The foundation gives out grants annually. They've done about $200,000 in grants. This past year was about, $15,000, $20,000. They had money left over, is the point. So they're telling people, please be aware that this exists, apply. I asked when the deadline was. I thought I wrote it down, but I didn't. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but I think the deadline might be around January. Let's see Diane in the... It hasn't been set yet. Okay. So I think there's usually some time. It's not before the end of this year that the deadline is, but please keep in mind that there's funds available. I think their criteria is listed on their website. Usually the more people that are involved or impacted, the better chance you have for that award or grant. PTAs can apply, student groups can apply, student groups, Hackbox, see you. So please be considerate of all of that. Next, they also wanted to make sure that folks were aware that Super Saturdays, that is administered by FAPN, the Farmington Area African American Parent Network. Super Saturdays is coming back. That's the tutoring that is available to everyone. And they wanted to make sure that although it is put on by FAPN, it is not exclusive at all. It is meant to be inclusive of all students. And every Saturday, I've seen this program grow over the past 10 years from, just a handful of kids to a packed room. It's on Saturdays, starts at 9 a.m. It's at Farmington High School. It used to be in this building. It is now at Farmington High School. 9 to 11. And many board members are participating and tutoring because we have a couple that are former teachers. I just used to show up and work, and we'll just bring food. I don't have the tutoring bone in my body. But please utilize that as a resource. And then finally,
Do we have a start date yet?
I'm sorry, I missed that. October 12th. Thank you. That was the point of me bringing it up. And then finally, reflections. The theme this year is about accepting imperfections, which I thought was really, really interesting. The deadline for reflections, I believe, is Wednesday, November 6th, but please connect with your school to understand whether there's an individual school deadline. Pauline Kim organizes reflections and she looks like she's 30, but she has to be 100 years old. She has been involved in reflections since before I can remember. She's a tremendous resource. She does reflections and so much more. She offers her phone number and email address to anyone who needs help. So if you have any questions about that, contact her. And that is the end of that report. Okay. Any more reports?
No reports, but can I tell everybody thank you?
Absolutely.
Okay. First, thank you, Huge, for singing to me. I really appreciate that. It means a lot as I circle the sun. Again, I ain't gonna say how many years it's been, but thank you. And thank you to our teachers and our principals that have reached out to me, who remembered that date this morning, this afternoon, and said thank you and happy birthday to Ray Mayberry and Dr. Coffin and her cabinet and board, and to my colleagues. I want to thank you. I usually don't do anything for my birthday, but I am here tonight because of the support and love that I have for this school district. So I could have took off too, and you've just been the two of you here, but
thank you.
I decided to just leave the cake at home and come here and let this community know that my heart is still here with all of you. And thank you so much for everything. And thank you to our teachers and staff in the back and everyone, our police officers. Thank you for your service. And that's the best birthday gift I can have, is to our educators and our students. Thank you. And thank you to all of you.
Thank you. And thank you, board members, for showing up. I know that today was a tough day for a lot of people, so I appreciate folks who actually came, Mrs. Heinrich, and helped us get a quorum so that we can have this meeting. And for folks that has some other things to do, we understand, and we'll see you next time. This meeting is now adjourned.